Welcome to Fred
and Amy's Math Shack.
Hi, to start today, I'd like you to have a go at these 5 questions here. Factorizing quadratics, so expressions involving x squared, that's what makes it a quadratic. See if you can factorizing, that means put them into double brackets. And then have a go at this little challenge question at the bottom if you finish that. So pause the video now and have a go. Okay, I'm going to talk through these. So to factorize quadratics, we look to put it in double brackets. We know that we need an x squared, so we need an x and an x. And then I know that I'm going to multiply these two numbers to give me my 12. And I multiply this by the x and this by the x to give the 7x. I actually end up adding these two numbers. So two numbers that multiply to give 12 and add to give 7. It's just a case of trying some factors. So maybe 1 and 12, no, doesn't work. 2 and 6, no. 3 and 4, yes. Okay, so that's just a reminder about the process of factorizing quadratics. So that's our answer. Next one, same sort of thing. Okay, I'm going to go a bit faster now. So this one, I want them to again multiply to 12, but now add to give minus 7. That's going to be minus 3 and minus 4. This one, okay, remember actually one important thing is if this is positive and this is positive, both numbers will be positive. If this is positive and this is negative, both numbers will be negative. That will always be true. And if this is negative here, then you're going to get one that is positive and one that is negative. It has to be two numbers that multiply together to give a negative. One will be positive, one will be negative. So we're going to maybe try, so you can still try 10 and 1, but one of them is going to be negative. Now you can't sort of do 10 minus 1 or 1 minus 10 to give minus 3. So a bit more thinking, and it's going to be minus 5 and plus 2. That's going to give me my minus 3 when I add them, but my minus 10 when I multiply. Okay, this one we've got a little bit of work to do first. We're going to have to tidy it up. X squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay, so they won't always be sort of nicely written for you. You might have to simplify it first, but this is positive and this is positive. That's only actually going to leave one possibility. Just one little point I'm going to say actually is that so this works with whole numbers, but sometimes you might if I had something like x squared plus 3x plus 3. Actually, that doesn't factorize in a nice way. There's no number. I'd have to put an x here and an x here. I'd have to put a 1 and a 3 here for whole numbers to multiply to give 3. But then this doesn't add to give 3 here. So sometimes quadratics just don't factorize in a nice way. There are still ways of sort of factorizing it, but it won't be a whole number anymore, and that's sort of more advanced methods. But I did want to talk about that because I don't want you to think you can factorize every single quadratic with whole numbers. It's just the fact the ones we're doing you can. Okay, this last one's a bit more of a challenging one. What I would do for this one is I would take out the negative to start with. So it's going to become minus, and then I'm going to need a minus 6 plus x squared. Okay, so because I've taken a negative out, I've basically then made the negatives of all the other terms. Why have I done that? Because if I then just organize it, I've turned it into a nice thing inside here. So I can now deal with that. Get rid of this. Okay, you might have already spotted how to do it. We're going to have an x. We're going to have an x. Now this is negative, so one of them is going to be positive, one of them is going to be negative. 3 and 2, yeah, that works if I do 3 and minus 2. And again, I've factorized these. So how did you do? Hopefully you are happy with that. This one here is actually what we're going to be looking at today. The answers are -3 and -4. Did you get that? Did you guess it? Did you already know a method for doing it? If not, then, well, in any case, watch on because that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about solving quadratic equations. So this is a quadratic. It's now an equation because it's got an equal sign in there. And I'm solving it because I want to know the values of x. And the way I'm going to do it, which is not how I've shown so far, I've just written the answer down, is through factorizing, putting into double brackets. So this is our title, Solving Quadratic Equations by Factorization. Very technical, but we know what each of these things mean. Okay, how are we going to do this? Right, I'm going to erase this text here. And we're going to focus on, this is our question, solve x squared plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. Before I do that, I'm going to look at a related problem. So if I have a multiplied by b equal to 12, what can be said about a and b? What could they possibly have values of? Have a little think about that. Well, we're just looking for some possibilities really. So you could get a equal to 1 and b equal to 12. Or you could have a equal to 12 and b equals 1. You could have 2 and 6. You could have 6 and 2, 3 and 4, 4 and 3. You could have 0.5, either one of them 0.5 and the other one 24. So, we're allowing non-integer values here and so on. Actually, there's an infinite number of possibilities. So it tells you something. It tells you a relationship between A and B. It tells you there's an infinite number of answers as well. However, we're now going to look at if a and b were equal to 0. What would happen in that case? Well, you could have a equal to 6, but then b would have to be 0. You could have a equal to 3, but b would have to be 0. You could have b equal to 1, but then a would have to be 0. In every single case, one of them is going to have to be 0. It could actually be that both of them are 0, so A could be 0 and B is 0, but that would be a way of solving that. So why is that useful? Okay, we're just going to get rid of that. That's just sort of a little thing to think about. And we are going to return to this question here. So we've already factorized this one up here. We got that it was ax plus 3, x plus 4. But now it's equal to 0. We're going to think about that thing we just said basically. Like in our case, this is going to be A and this is going to be B. And we know to solve AB equals 0, one of them has to be 0. So it must be that x plus 3 equals 0 or x plus 4 equals 0. That must follow from it because of this little thing. We can't have both of them as positive or even a negative number. Something to multiply two numbers and have 0, one of them must be 0. In theory, you could have both as 0, but in this case, you can't have x plus 3 equal to 0 at the same time that x plus 4 is equal to 0. But what does that mean? This means that x is going to have to equal -3. I've just solved this equation here, or it's going to equal -4, which these are the solutions I gave before. This is how we obtain it. So we can solve a quadratic equation by first factorizing it, then breaking it down into this is 0 or this is 0, and then just writing down the answer. And notice it's basically whatever is here, but I've changed the sign. Whatever is here, my +4, but I've changed the sign. That will always be true. We're not gonna jump straight into that, but ultimately you can just do that. Okay, we're gonna look at 4 examples of this. So in every single case, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna factorize it. Okay, so in this case, it's gonna be x minus 1 x minus 2 equal to 0. We're then going to use this knowledge we've got. This is either 0 or this is 0, so it's going to be x minus 1 equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. And that's going to give us our answer, x equals 1 or x equals 2. Done. Okay, finish this one. Next one. Okay, we're going to take this, x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. I've got a positive here, I've got a negative here, so both of these are going to be negative. So I'm going to factorize it, x, okay, I need them both to be negative, so it's going to be minus 4 and minus 4. And in this case, I'm just going to get x minus 4 equals 0 or x minus 4 equals 0. Like they would actually in this case both be 0 at the same time, but I'm just going to get one solution. So sometimes you get two solutions, and actually that will be the most likely one, but you can just get a single solution there, x equals 4. Okay, let's look at this one. X squared minus 4 equals 0. Now this is one of those quadratics that if you don't look at for a while, you sort of forget and you think it's confusing, but this is a difference of two squares. I want two numbers that multiply to give minus 4 and add to give 0, because technically there's a 0x in here. So it's going to be x minus 2, x plus 2 equals 0. We're going to get x minus 2 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0, x equals 2 or minus 2. Now there is another way we could have done this one. We could have, I'm just going to make a bit of space. Like if I just said to you at the start, have a go at solving that one, this might be how you might have done it. You might have done x squared equals 4, and then you might have taken a square root. X equals the square root, but it's plus and minus of 4, which also again gives me plus and minus 2. Yeah, because minus 2 squares to give 4, and so does positive 2. But in general, you can't use this method. I can't use it on this one, because if I try and move the 2 over, I've still got a 3x. I'm just sort of talking about in this special case, you can resort back to this method here. Okay, last one. Right, this is one of those quadratics that again confuses, but actually it's probably the easiest one. This one has a common factor. The other ones didn't. I had to use double brackets. But here I can use an x and an x minus 4 equals 0. Technically this is still double brackets because I could write it as x plus 0, x minus 4. It's not quite the same, but we still treat it in the same way as single brackets. In this case, I can't just forget about this. I'm going to have x equals 0 or x equals 4. I've actually jumped to it here. I've not bothered to do this stuff here and then get the solution. I could have done that, but I'm getting 0 from here and I'm getting 4 from here. That's my solution to make this equal to 0. Okay, so that is how to solve quadratic equations. Yeah, this is what these things are now when we set them equal to 0 by factorizing. Do you know what? I'm going to do one more example because I've just realized there's something I've not thought about. Let's say we have a quadratic, x squared plus, let's say 5x plus 4 equals minus 2. Now, how would I solve this? Well, what we do is we get it so that we've got 0 on the right hand side. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. It's going to become x squared plus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. And I'm now ready to go. So there's just this extra little step going on. I now factorize it. X plus 3, x plus 2 equal to 0. And x is going to equal minus 3 or minus 2. Again, I've jumped straight to it here. X plus 3 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. That gives this solution here. Okay, brilliant. Have a go at exercise 25. Solve the equations by factorizing. So we've got lots of quadratic equations, and I want you to factorize them and then use the method that I've shown you to solve them. Okay, so have a go at that. I'm going to slowly reveal the answers so you can check them at the end. So this is a sort of thing you should be giving as your answers. Make sure you've got them. And then finally, here are 3 challenge questions. If you've got those done, hopefully you can get onto these. So these are just, I've not taught this. This is just pushing it on a little bit. See if you can have a go at these and send me your answers. Okay, good luck.